The Proto-Semitic Allah, further down, tells us was a black dog represented by a black bull whose hide denoted his black skin.
Here's the picture that he showed on the screen. It's a deity El, the god El. Pay attention to the crown or the headdress, if you will. This is a picture from the front of the same statue, a little closer, and a little bit from the side here. Now, this headdress is actually the Atef crown. If you go on Webster's online dictionary, that's what it says. Atef is the specific feathered white crown of the Egyptian deity Osiris. It combines the head jet, the crown of Upper Egypt, with red ostrich feather for the Osiris cult. The Atef crown identifies Osiris in ancient Egyptian painting. If you go to Webster's dictionary, Merriam-Webster, it says Atef hold on, a tall crown with a long feather on each side, shown in the art of ancient Upper Egypt as worn by Osiris. Okay, here you can see Osar or Osiris with the Atef crown. This is from the Papyrus of Nebket. It's actually in the Louvre Museum, and you can see me filming that papyrus on the video entitled Reality Check. Why black people ain't going nowhere. But you might as well put Afro Style Reality Check, it's gonna come up. And in here, it's also from the Louvre Museum. You have Osiris in the middle with the Atef crown, and the description for it, if you go on the website of the Louvre Museum and you type Royal and Divine Triad, you can do a search and you will see they mention that he is actually wearing the Atef crown. Now finally, you can compare the crowns. Okay, first you have the god of the Arabized Negroes, which first is El, but somehow, some way becomes Allah. But that's up to y'all. That's up to the doctor. And then you have the one that I showed you, Osiris. Then again, from the front, compared with another statue of Osiris, and then finally the same statue from another angle.
Biblical King's Seal discovered in dump site. This is the royal seal of the King Hezekiah, and here we have an Ankh. And finally, last but not least, you need to see it to believe it. The God of the Bible, El, slept in his own dung and urine. This is Ugaritic Narrative Poetry, page 195. And we also have this book here, the Masriya in a Prophetic Literature, where it clearly says that El floundered in his own feces and urine. Bear with me, brothers and sisters. Bear with me. I'll be right here in a few seconds. Okay, can you do a microphone check? Oh, I have to close this. All right, so you go here. Do the mic check. Okay. Microphone check 1 2 1 2. Microphone check. Okay, it works. Good. Hotep Senu Hena Senu Te and Isha Kanduku Kemet. The title of his live stream is Systematic Racism. Does it exist? Or did we make that up? I hope you're doing well. Now, Frankie is not happy. I've shared the screen capture, my timeline on YouTube. And well, let me show you for those who haven't seen it. So here, let me share the screen. Now my YouTube timeline, for those who wonder, just go there, community. So here, that's the screen capture. Now I took that screen print when it was not 59 minutes into the live stream. So it was already an hour in. And you can see that there was 922 people watching at the moment I made the screen print. And you can see the title says, let's talk about the up and coming debates and a little about the French slandering N-word. All right, so what surprises me, however, I must admit, if you look at the comments, we have Ching Ching in the place to be, who wrote, yo, Shaka, we got him mad. He over there talking about us again. Or he will talk about us for a while because we quoted him, we played himself, and he's not happy about his own words. So he's used to behave like a guru and have his groupie, monkey moderators, only 5 moderators, booty shaking, twerking moderators, who are yes men and yes women. And he's just not used to people not agreeing with him. That master wrote very good topic. Donnie Williams is in the place to be. And this is what surprised me. Young Heru wrote, yeah, he real mad. Even talk about your mom and dad. Stuff is crazy. And I'm surprised. I don't recall talking about the man's family. So out of curiosity, what did he say about my mom and dad? I'm kind of curious about that because just in case anybody's wondering, I'm not listening to the dude. I stopped listening to him a while back. You understand what I'm saying? But here I'm curious, you know. What did he say about my mom and dad? I guess his groupies are going to say that's the information. Oh, by the way, there's something else that I've shared in my community timeline. After, no, just before that. Oh, hold on. Let me go back. Here. See? Anyway, you know what? I'm giving you the link to the community timeline. So here, what does it say? IUIC camp accused by couple of being, and then he actually says, you know what? I will share the link. You know what? Let's watch it together. But I will share the link though. Another one, just like DJ Khaled, can't stop, won't stop. Some Hebrews again, Hebrews are lights. So here you have it. IUIC camp accused by a couple of being pedophiles. Let's play the beginning so we can get some context.
Yeah, what up, y'all? It's Killer B, the doggone Witchfinder General. You got Witch. I'm burning them up. You already know this. On the way in, make sure you hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. You definitely want to hit that subscribe button right now. Yo, but check this out. Yo, IUIC. I believe this is in Washington State. So one of them camps in Washington State. One of the people watching them spotted a pedophile and letting everybody know about it. And say they're out there messing with the kids, bullying the kids, and all types of stuff. And I got my little 2 cents I'm going to put in on this too. I'm just bringing the news to y'all. Check this out, y'all.
You clearly heard the guy say he's a pedophile. Don't listen to his stuff and blah, blah, blah. He's not anonymous. He's not unidentified. He's saying it publicly, pointing at the dude. Now, IUIC are quite known because they pull up in numbers. Snoop Doggy Dogg, now known as Snoop Dogg, had a music video. I forgot the title. And in that music video, we see them lined up. They're usually dressed in pink. Or not pink, sorry, my bad. Purple. Just like you can see here. And they have quite a fair bit of chapters. They are in England. I think they are even in France. Oh, actually, it was West Indies. I think it was. But you have some French territory, you know, Guadeloupe, Martinique is France, you know. I mean, it's in West Indies, it's in the Caribbean, but it is French territory. So I don't know what they're going to do about this, man. But damn, you know, Hebrew Israelites is a bad record so far, a bad track record, man. So this comes from the brother. Oh, see the username here. Killer B, the Witchfinder General. And it's the same one who wrote a comment saying that the Hebrew guy who was charged with rape, C, pulled out his stuff in front of a lady, you know. I guess he saw. In England, they say chat up. You know, I want to chat her up. You know, I guess it's there. It might be how they do courtship. You know, but anyway. So let me continue with the comments before we address the main topic, and then we can talk about everything as usual. So Andrew Brunet is in the place to be. How you doing? And yes, it's a shame because Chief X did not really let you speak, but we were like 5 hours in, and I don't really like it too much when there's people who are older than me. I don't really like too much intervening, like, you know, like I'm calling people into order, because sometimes when you have discussions, you can get heated. You know, there's disagreement. So I usually, you know, wait till it's about to be annoying or about to get out of hands. But thinking about what was happening,
it's just a shame. It's a shame. But it's not the end of the world, you know. Storm is in the place to be. V. Bennett is in the place to be. Michelle Grant is in the place to be. She was intelligent listening from my ride home. So Donnie Williams once again. Sounds good, thank you. Wap Funk World Peace, fam. Thank goodness. Not sure what madness I just witnessed on House of Khan's channels. Well, let us know. Let us know. He added, I saw his title and eavesdropped. Or actually, he changed the title. Him or other people are most likely subscribers. And when they saw that I shared, indeed, now the title is different. Unless he made a different live stream. No. Yeah, so yeah, he's removed the part about, you know, the French N-word or whatever. So I saw his title and eavesdropped. I couldn't last more than 5 minutes. I was losing too many brain cells and could feel myself getting dumber. But, you know, just so I could get a flavor, like they say in England, you know, just get the gist of it. You know, what did you hear? Like, you know, in essence, you know. But nobody knows what he said about well, it was Young Heru. What did he say about my mom and dad? You know? Andrea Burnett wrote, it's all good, Chaka. Thank you, sister. Thank you for your understanding. V. Bennett wrote, this is like a plague. Okay, so I have some links already. My other PC. I thought I turned it on, but apparently I didn't. But V. Bennett shared a few links with me, and there's one of them that I want to share with you. A Young Heru, you cannot leave me hanging like that. You know? Maybe he's not here. That's why. And I will open the lines later on. Hold on. Maybe he's not here. That's why. And I will open the lines later on. What? Where is this coming from? Where is this coming from? Which page is coming from? Oh, that one. Okay, I get it. All right, I can close that one. So I'll go here, and I will go there. Oh, thank you, Young Heru. He wrote. He said there was Les. You mean liars? You are Lair? What does Lair mean? All French black men are you mean liars? Yes. So Lair. So Webster, Lair. Dialectal British, a resting or sleeping place, i.e. bed. Then you have the resting or living place of a wild animal, i.e. den. Then you have a refuge or place of hiding. Then you have the verb, which means to cause to sink in mere or mire. Oh, okay, well. Okay, liars. Okay, all right. Well, I wonder how he would know that my parents are liars. And you know, the funny thing is that, you know, I showed you the screen capture that I did, and he wrote slanderous. So apparently I'm slanderous. What slander did I say? Everything I said about the dude is factual. Mainly I quoted him and I played him. But, you know, he's how his groupies, and they're going to, you know, roll whatever he says. We better wrote Saneda's head is about to explode. All right. Well, thank you, Young Heru, for that info. I appreciate that. You know. But it's quite amazing. You know, we had somebody who told us that the person was exonerated, and then that person is threatening to sue. And Frankie states that my parents are liars. I'm like, what did they lie about? Sometimes people need some talking points, you know, to deflect, you know. So now they're not only going to call me Frenchie, they're going to say, Frenchie the liar. Well, his parents are liars. All right, hey, suit yourself. We've seen some pictures and videos, though. I can tell you that my parents are not doing OnlyFans, and not booty shaking, not taking pictures half naked. I'm just saying. My parents didn't run off with people's money. I can tell you that. So, let me share. So I will share that link here, first of all. Let me show you. So here. All right. Sorry. Okay. Now you have the link in the chat. You can see the URL starts with un.org. So UN, that's the United Nations, right? So indeed, United Nations. This is the United Nations website, man. It's safe to say it's accurate. Now it says here, background. Around 200 million people identifying themselves as being of African descent live in the Americas. Many millions more live in other parts of the world outside of the African continent. Whether as descendants of the victims of the transatlantic slave trade or as more recent migrants, they constitute some of the poorest and most marginalized groups. For centuries, people of African descent were marginalized as part of the legacy of slavery and colonialism. There is a growing consensus that racism and racial discrimination have caused people of African descent to be held back in many aspects of public life. They have suffered exclusion and poverty and are often invisible in official statistics. There has been progress, but the situation persists to varying degrees in many parts of the world. Now, when it comes to statistics, in France, there are many Black people. Many of them come from former colonized countries, like Haiti. Now, some people may argue, okay, Haiti was not colonized; it was the time of slavery, you know. But France has had control over the Hispaniola, as a matter of fact, the island, you know, and they only was split, you know. The Spanish got the part that we know as the Dominican Republic. So, you know, as Sai and I, we kind of cousins, you know. So, Senegal, Mali, Niger, many countries, you know. Guinea, Conakry. In France, ethnic statistics are forbidden. I think the only exception will be for health, hospitals, issues dealing with medicine. I think that will be the only exception. So they have the reasons why it is forbidden. I, and maybe others, think that if we have ethnic statistics, it will highlight even more the racism. Now, here, I was there. You have Spotlight living with the legacy of slavery in Senegal. And you going down, you have poverty. The factors that lead to poverty among people of African descent are mainly structural. Discrimination is apparent in the unequal access these groups have to basic services. People of African descent are often disadvantaged, for example, in access to education, healthcare, markets, loans, and technology. Recognizing that poverty is both a cause and a consequence of discrimination, states should strengthen programs for eradicating poverty that take account of the specific needs and experiences of people of African descent. Then you have, let's turn this around. Social investment in childhood and youth as a strategy to combat poverty has been proposed as an approach that could help prevent the continued exclusion of a new generation of people of African descent from the benefits of economic, social, and human development. The discrimination faced by people of African descent is now receiving greater attention, and as a result, Afro-descendant groups have increasingly made their voices heard in the policy process. You have another spotlight, and then here you have agenda towards transformative change for racial justice and equality. On June 28, 2021, this is up to date. Some people will say, well, we were in 2023, that's 2021, that's 2 years old, that's old news, man, that's old news, you're late. But this is the UN. When they will make reports, it will take some time for the report to come out and to be translated. So this is quite recent. This is halfway through the year of 2021. You see? So OHCHR, that's one of the office of the UN, most likely. But you know what? Let's take it further. That stands for Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights. That's what OHCHR means. Now let me go back. So the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights released the High Commissioner's groundbreaking report, and you have a link here on report, on racial justice and equality. Pursuant to Human Rights Council Resolution 43/1, adopted by consensus in June 2020, following an urgent debate on current racially inspired human rights violation, systemic racism, police brutality, and violence against peaceful protests. And I can stop there, because here you have systemic racism. We didn't make it up. We did not make that up. This is the United Nations. This is the UN. It's more than reliable. So we are not making that up. Because some people are acting like we are making that up. Hold on. Now, the thumbnail that I used, can I share it? Hold on. That's a full thumbnail. There's only so much you can see. So, Amina Pilgrim. Now, this is up to date as well. I'm going to share the link in the chat, as a matter of fact. Let me put the title of the book and the link. Keep the comments going. I'll go through them after. So here it is. Now let me show you the Amazon page. So I can unshare here. And now let me share the Amazon page. So you can clearly see. See what it says here? Delivered to Portugal, because that's where I am right now. But I won't be there for long. So you can clearly see the book, Systemic Racism 101, A Visual History of the Impact of Racism, by Living Cities author and Amina Pilgrim author. January 25, 2022. That's just last year. It's a year old. It's up to date. Racism. A belief that race is a fundamental determinant of human traits and capacities. Remember somebody said, do you celebrate the death of Africans? In what capacity? And that racial differences produce an inherent superiority of a particular race. 2, the systemic oppression of a racial group to the social, economic, and political advantage of another. Webster's dictionary. Dang, that's Webster. All right, let's check Webster before we continue. Yeah. Dang. All right, let me share this in the chat. So now we're going to look at this, the definition of racism from Merriam-Webster. Boom. Do we see it all? I might have to reduce it. Will I show you? Over. Okay. Racism noun. 1, a belief that race is a fundamental determinant of human traits and capacities, and that racial differences produce an inherent superiority of a particular race. Also, behavior or attitudes that reflect and foster this belief, racial discrimination or prejudice. 2a, the systemic oppression of a racial group to the social, economic, and political advantage of another. Specifically, white supremacy sense 2. B, a political or social system founded on racism and designated to execute its principles. So there you have it. When people talk about systemic racism, they're not making it up, right? So let's go back to the book. Systemic racism is the complicated, dense, and difficult history of societal, economic, and political oppression of people of color in America, a history that spans more than 500 years. In Systemic Racism 101, written by nonprofit Living Cities and Amina Pilgrim, PhD, you'll find a full introduction to this history from 15th century European settler colonialism and the Civil War to the leaders of the civil rights and Black Lives Matter movements. Leaders of the civil rights, of course, we have Martin Luther King, but in the House of Clowns, the House of Rape, they say comfortably that Martin Luther King wasn't and that he was a B. And then they want to acknowledge. And with more than 30 full-page infographic spreads, you'll find illustrations, photography, charts, timelines, and maps to fully wrap your mind around the slave trade, wealth gaps, redlining, and more. It's time to begin the essential work of understanding, critically engaging with, and most importantly, speaking out against systemic racism. So, okay, you do have a fair bit here, you know, but here, for example, structural slash systemic racism. The Interaction Institute for Social Change defines structural racism, a similar and interchangeable term to systemic racism, as a system in which public policies, institutional practices, cultural representations, and other norms work in various, often reinforcing ways to perpetuate racial group inequality, the normalization and legitimization of an array of the dynamics, historical, cultural, institutional, and interpersonal, that routinely advantage whites while producing cumulative and chronic adverse outcomes for people of color. Structural racism encompasses the entire system of white domination, diffused and infused in all aspects of society, including its history, culture, politics, economics, and entire social fabrics. Structural racism is more difficult to locate in a particular institution because it involves the reinforcing effects of multiple institutions and cultural norms, past and present, continually reproducing old forms and producing new forms of racism. Structural racism is the most profound and pervasive form of racism. All other forms of racism emerge from structural racism. Acts of structural racism can look like the lower life expectancy for men of color compared with white men due to increased exposure to hazardous chemicals or more barriers to accessing healthcare. Higher incarceration rates among black men due to the deeply held cultural stereotypes that criminalizes black behavior compared to white behavior, including higher rates of arrest of black people for marijuana use compared to white people. Lower levels of wealth among black families than white families because of lower home values in black neighborhoods as a result of lower levels of government and private sector support. So we had a good rundown. We have the name of a PhD. We have the name of a book about the author. Here they're talking about living cities. But let's see what we can find about this lady here. Amina Pilgrim. If I go back, Amina Pilgrim. Simon and Schultz. There's no bio. Oh. Amina Fernandez Pilgrim, that's the full name apparently. Okay, let me try by adding PhD. Oh, she has a website here. There she is. So that's the bio from her website. You have it in the chat. Amina Pilgrim, or Amina Fernandez Pilgrim, is a mother, an artist, author, community organizer, an award-winning educator. Do we see all? Yeah, we see all. She is a faculty member at UMass Boston who teaches in Women's Gender and Sexuality Studies, the Critical Ethnic and Community Studies MS program, and Africana Studies. In addition, she is an affiliate of Africana Studies at Berklee College of Music, the Pedro Pires Institute of Cape Verdean Studies at Bridgewater State University, and the Clemente program at Stonehill College. Her areas of studies and teaching include the late 19th and 20th century African American history, African American women's history, African diaspora studies, Cabo Verdean studies, critical education research, and hip hop studies. She has contributed to public history initiatives such as the Providence Black Studies, Freedom School, and the City of Brockton Community Black History course. Her community organizing and advocacy focuses on children, youth/gang violence, the school to prison pipeline, immigrant transitions, and women's empowerment. She is an advocate of teaching using civic engagement and has empowered many colleagues and students to make a difference in this field. She is a founder of the Hip Hop Initiative, established 2004. She is a co-founder of Sabura Youth Program, Student Ambassadors, bounded under Recreation and Achievement, established 2013, the co-founder of Poderosa International Conference on Cabo Verdean Women, established 2016, and she serves as a volunteer for other Boston area organizations. Since 2005, she has led critical conversations and facilitated trainings in the field of diversity education in both public and private schools and colleges. In 2019, she helped lead a learning journey to Cabo Verde for Boston Mayor Marty Walsh and a delegation of 40 traveling as part of a historic trade mission to the country. Most recently, she co-wrote a decolonized U.S. history curriculum for Massachusetts DYS with colleagues from the Mauricio Gaston Institute and has worked with both Boston Public Schools and Brockton Public Schools on projects related to ethnic studies, dual language and diversity initiatives. She is frequently solicited speaker, trusted advisor, and well-known leader in the region. Okay. Vitae. There it is. Oh, hold on. Okay. Education, 2008, Rutgers University, New Brunswick, NJ/PhD History. The dissertation is Free Men Name Themselves. Cape Verdeans in Massachusetts Negotiate Race, 1900-1980. Dissertation chair, David Levering Lewis. All right. So, 1996, Duke University, Durham, NC, BA in History and Cultural Anthropology, certificate in African and African American Studies. So, some people say they have a bachelor's degree in history. You don't even know which university, which school they got it from. You don't know the year. You don't know jack. But, you know, when you deal with real scholars, these information are very easily found. They are not going to send an invoice for $1,800 for you to see it. But on the House of Clowns, House of Rape, they defend this kind of fraudulent activity. So she is a PhD, all right. So now, there might be a few more links that I can share. Hold on. Let me see, hold on. This I can close. Now we have USA Today. All right. I'll share the link in the chat. All right. What does it say? What is systemic racism? Here's what it means and how you can help dismantle it. USA Today has an article about it. All right. Now here, I've shared from this website, if I'm not mistaken, when we're dealing with melanin. All humans have melanin. White people, Caucasians, have melanin. Albinos have melanin. So when you have some people say, oh, I'm melanated, I'm dealing with melanated people. I understand many times it's Moorish people or Moors who don't like to use the word black for many reasons. And we have a dude called Tohaka Bey who said that Saddam Hussein and Osama bin Laden were melanated. When he uses the term melanated, it's so that he doesn't use the term black. So it's laughable. So you can see at the top it says National Library of Medicine, National Center for Biotechnology Information. And here you can see clearly that it says systemic racism, individuals and interactions, institutions and society. You have the names of the contributors. Now, where is that hosted? On which website is it hosted? National Institutes of Health. Now, hold on. For those who like Wikipedia, there's an article. And this article is entitled Institutional Racism. So as usual, you do have a part at the bottom, at the end of the article. Those are all the notes. There are plenty. We have 463 notes. There are some bibliographies, further reading, and, oh, hold on. We should have external links. Well, never mind. Look what it says about the military. The U.S. Army in June 2020, that's only 3 years old. Even less than 3 years old because that's June 2020, but anyway. The U.S. Army in June 2020 instituted changes to its promotion policy to counteract institutional racism as part of its effort to counter unconscious bias that caused Black officers candidates to be passed over more often than were similarly qualified whites. For instance, photographs of candidates will no longer be part of their promotional packages, which had been found to hinder advancement opportunities for Black soldiers. So nobody's playing the victims. That's the U.S. Army. And of course, you have the note here, 463. You see? So who dealt with that? The New York Times. Cooper Helen, 25 June 2020, addressing diversity, Army will remove photos of officer candidates in promotion reviews. And here we have the New York Times article that I will share for all purposes for the benefit of the court. Because we're here just talking for the sake of it. We back up what we say. You know, some people spend their time molesting children and then breaking down that it's a divine intervention. But other people are meticulous with what they are sharing to the people. So what else? The Ohio State University. It's quite meticulous, isn't it? So you do have the link in the chat here. Let's have a look what it says. Let's see what it says. You see at the top, the Ohio State University College of Public Health. Want evidence of systemic racism? Look to public health. written by Denis Law. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce that. June 24, 2020. That's recent. That's a university. It's not a street corner. It's not the barber shop. It's not the club. It's not the bar. What else? Columbia University. Another university. You do have the link in the chat. What does it say? See here, Teachers College, Columbia University. New research shows impact of COVID and systemic racism on Black students, offers policy recommendations. Systemic racism is written there. In a study led by Sonia Douglas Horsford, the Black Education Research Collective breaks new ground in understanding how the trauma of 2020 has affected Black students and suggests policy changes to advance racial equity. Now, this article is dated July 2021. That's up to date. And what else do we have? I don't have that much more. This is hosted at the Santa Clara University. Another one, dang. Here, you do have the link in the chat. Let's have a look. So you can see Markula Center for Applied Ethics at Santa Clara University. That's what SCU means, because it's scu.edu/, and you can see the rest. Ethics and systemic racism. We're not making it up. And what else do we have? I'm not sure if here they use the term systemic. Yes, they do. So this time it's the University of Central Florida. You have the link in the chat. And let's see what it says. You can see at the top, University of Central Florida. Waking up to whiteness and white privilege. White people are not to blame for policies that began before they were born. They are still benefiting from them at the often grave expense of Black Americans. October 7, 2020. It's not that old. And then systemic here, just as systemic racism, right? Yeah, the mention of systemic racism again here. And here, educate ourselves on systemic racism and white supremacy. Here, commit to having difficult conversations with white family and friends about systemic racism. So we're not making it up. And what else do we have? It's about it. So let me share the link so people can get on the panel if they want to. If they don't see me as a liar. Pardon. There it is. You have the link to get on the panel. Oh, I need to unshare from that PC. Somebody send me a link. Is it the current live stream? It's a clip. All right. It's 1 minute long. Well, you know what? Let's listen. Let's listen together. Thank you for that. So 1 minute clip. Um, hold on. It looks like an excerpt from the live stream, because you can do clips on YouTube. So I'm sharing the link in the chat, and we're gonna listen together. I'm gonna mute my mic. Oh, V Bennett is here. Just one moment, V Bennett, please. So here's a link in the chat, and let's listen to what Frankie says. Let me mute my mic.
We don't want that nigga name up in our chat. Don't call his name. We ain't giving that nigga nothing. Call him the dodo bird, the dodo French bird, the dodo bird French, something. Call that nigga the dodo bird, something like that. That nigga so goddamn hurt. It's pathetic. He wears heart on his sleeves, man. So family, if you think, come on in. I would like to hear your opinion. Brother La, come on in. I would love to hear your opinion. What do you think about this up and coming debate? And right behind that one, you already know. Right behind that one. Yeah, we know that nigga watching. That nigga watching with his panties on and shit. Probably hot as hell. Ching-a-ling, ching-ching is hot as hell. Watching with his panties on. That nigga ching-ching. We don't want that nigga name in our...
Well, we can see that he's getting wiser by the years. Feel free to speak, Brother V Bennett. And thank you for that clip, brother.
Oh, yeah, man. Oh my God. My Odd Hotel brother. Oh my goodness. You know, I don't know. I don't even think, you know, like I said this a while ago, you know, serious people that do serious work for real, they usually don't, even if a person like this calls their name out or says anything about it. Have you ever noticed the serious folk never respond? You know, like with what's his name? Tariq Nasheed. The serious people, they never respond to Tariq Nasheed, man, because they've learned something through work. They have learned that you don't engage nonsense, because if your work speaks for itself and intelligent people can see it. The people that are going to stand up for real, they can see it because they understand what it takes to do that work, you know? So nobody's going to just keep on, you know, but in any case, off of that guy, you know, I wanted you to read something. And that was the definition. I thought it'd be quite interesting for the Black Hebrew Israelite brothers to hear the definition of people of African descent by the UN, and for them to ponder under what charters is the form of discrimination that they experience, even them, under what charters do they exist, and how are they described? I thought that was hilarious. Can you read that? Do you know what that is?
You want
Just
me to
the
read it?
definition of people of African descent. They should catch up on that, is what I'm saying.
Well,
It's very interesting.
Hold on, please, V Bennett. Out of curiosity, hold on, where is it? It is Donnie Williams who said, yeah, I know you saw them trying to chop me the other night, but I held it down. And he's addressing James Powell, because James Powell did write previously here. Hold on, what was it? James Powell. I thought I saw it. Oh, I missed it, but James Powell wrote, I thought it was Smash, but Unc's crew gets crazy too. So please, if you don't mind, Donnie Williams, tell me what happened there. People trying to chop, but feel free to continue with Bennett. And we do have Andrew Brunet and Young Hero in the place to be.
Yeah. I was saying maybe you could read for our Black Hebrew Israelite brothers the definition that the UN has for people of African descent. Who are they?
Do you have the link for that, brother?
Yeah. I'll let me send it to you here.
Yes,
I think all you got to do is just Google people of African descent, and it comes right up. But I'll do that for you.
Let me try. People of African descent. And oh yes, I have it. United Nations. So I'm going to share the link.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the link in the chat. There.
Since they're having complexities with their identity, difficulty with their identity, I thought it'd be interesting.
Oh, but I think that's the link you sent to me. That's the same one that I read earlier.
No, it's not the same one. Hold on, I get it for you.
Yeah, systemic racism. Well, it's the same one that I read earlier. But here.
No, I'll get it to you.
Okay.
It's more detailed. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
Let me see.
Okay.
2 seconds.
Okay. All right. And Andrea Brunet.
Yeah, I dropped off just for a second.
All right. Well, feel free, brothers and sisters, while V. Bennett is looking for the right link.
So I was going to say everything that you brought up. I wrote notes of stuff that I thought that would be interesting to talk about, and you hit on every single last one of them, from health to the military. It's all of that information is available out there. I don't know how people don't see that. I remember when COVID was going down, there was a doctor in California that did autopsies on Black people who passed from having COVID, and he said, I noticed that their vitamin D levels were very low. So what they did is when people were coming to the hospital, he said if they were not intubated, if they didn't have a tube put in them, they gave them high dosages of vitamin D for 5 days, and it turned COVID around. And I've been taught, when I found out I was vitamin D deficient, I started telling all the Black people I know, get your vitamin D levels checked, because it regulates a whole bunch of stuff. And it's interesting to hear all that stuff is out there, and we have to do our due diligence in getting out there and getting a better understanding of how we need to take care of ourselves. Yes, we know that racism is out there, and they're not going to give us all the information we need. We need to go seek that stuff out for ourselves as well. The same thing with the military. I have brothers who were in the military. My dad was in the military. My husband was in the military. They've all have stories of what has happened to them. My dad should have been eligible for 100% disability when he retired. He retired when he was 42. He didn't get his 100% disability until he was 72. He had to fight to get something that he earned and he deserved. And then there's another guy out there who is suing the VA because he served in Vietnam. He should have been given an honorable discharge. He served in Vietnam and they gave him a dishonorable one. He couldn't go back to work for the VA like he was prior. And he lost all those benefits all these years. He's lost all these benefits, his children going to school and all this stuff. All that stuff was taken from him because they gave him a dishonorable discharge. And the VA said, yes, we had racist policies back then, and now we're trying to make things right. Well, they only went back 10 years for my dad. They didn't take it back to when he retired and didn't pay him for the loss of his children's education, because we should have gotten a free education based upon the GI Bill. So all of this stuff is happening. So all these people who want to sit back and say that, racism is systemic racism, that is not true. It just isn't. Even from the hair to all that, 60 Minutes had shows on Black men who were trying to be fighter pilots. They were coming at them like gangbusters, saying that you're not good at flying these, and made it more difficult for them to get their pilot's license and stuff like that. All that stuff is available out there, and we don't have to lie about that, But that doesn't mean that people are not trying to make their lives better. We're not telling people not to do that. We're just saying that we know it's out there, and we need to have strategies and plans to know how to walk it, so that we don't get caught up in making it worse for us. not reacting because somebody might call you the N-word or whatever and stuff like that. We have to know how to walk it so we can make it better for ourselves and our children. I mean, it happens all the time, getting pulled over. I mean, I got pulled over a couple years ago, and the first thing he asked me was, do you have any warrants for your arrest? When they pull you over, they read your tag, right? And then he tells me, 2 people behind you were driving 12 miles over the speed limit. He never said I was speeding. He just said the people behind me were speeding. And I'm like, okay. And I just didn't say anything. I just let him do whatever. And he came back and, okay, I'm going to, give you a warning and let you go. And I'm like, okay. So it's all those things that we have to be careful that we don't overreact just because we get pulled over. I knew I didn't do anything wrong. So it's those things that we have to be mindful of. I mean, it's just amazing. You hit every point of what I was going to tell you as far as housing. When we're trying to sell our homes, if we don't take our Black art off the walls, it ain't gonna sell. We're not gonna get the value for our homes, right? It's all of those things that we have to do to get the proper value of our homes when other people don't have to do that. I mean, it's all of that. I mean, I don't know where some of these people get this stuff from. That no, you don't have to worry about that. You don't. It's all of that. All of that has to do with that. And I wanted to say hi to James Powell, but he jumped off. And hi V Bennett and hi Young Heru and chat.
Yeah, I think he'll come back sometimes. It's a connection issue. But indeed, what you said made me remember of a comedian. Oh, we have Mac Money. How you doing, brother? So a comedian was saying that's a true story. That he was sitting in the passenger car. I'm sorry, on the passenger side of a car. The policeman went to him and asked him for a license and registration. He was not even driving the car. Now, I forgot if he said that the driver was white, but most likely the driver was non-black. He was a Caucasian or white person. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's bananas. We have so many footage of people labeled Karens calling the police on black men for unjustifiable reasons, and sometimes even pretending or claiming to be assaulted, or that they were assaulted. But luckily now in this era, we have our mobile phones and we can film. So they are filming and we see the people basically acting. You know what I'm saying? So now there's a little bit of difference. I remember there was a lady who made some negrophobic, let's say, anti-black remarks. And she was on a plane traveling from A to B. Before she landed, she lost a job because of the outrage of the situation. So sometimes people will say, okay, my life is like this. And, my family is cool. But it's not because everything is all good for one person in his family that it is the case for the overall people. And I remember Sekou, who said that he's doing well. He said, when people tell me go back to Africa, I laugh because he said he goes back on a regular basis, that he owns land. You know what I'm saying? But he kept saying that because he's well off and he's comfortable, it's not the case for the majority, for the grassroots and so on. So systemic racism, institutional racism, is not a fantasy, it's a reality. And just in a few minutes, the live stream has been going on for an hour, but I touched on a few subjects. But we have at least 3 universities, 1 book written by a PhD. I think it was the New York Times. There's so much documentation, So it is a fact. It is scientifically proven,
Yeah, they even had a guy. When I found out I was vitamin D deficient, I started getting all these articles and just reading and seeing. And he said that the U.S. and Canada should be charged with crimes against humanity for not telling Black Americans how important it is for us to supplement if we're not going to go outside and get into the natural sunlight. Because the further you are away from the equator, the less that quality sun, to where it keeps your vitamin D levels at a where it keeps you healthy and all that other kind of stuff, all the other stuff, that the benefits that come with that. And so when I found out I started buying a whole bunch of them and giving them to my friends, giving them to anybody I knew when I heard some of the complaints they were having, it was just some of the same thing I was having. So I bought a whole bunch of them, just started giving them away. I'm like, hey, if this helped me and I know how much it helped me, I want it to help everybody else. And so I'm on it. I try to stay on my grandkids and stuff. I keep stuff in my house. I shove it down their throat. Come get it, and because I ain't got time to be taking no time off work, come to pick up somebody, right? So it's everything that we needed to help. When I sent some to my friends in Canada, who are the furthest away from the equator, and the people who moved from near the equator up to Canada were getting all these kind of illnesses that they hadn't had before, and they said a lot of that comes from being vitamin D deficient, and so and then prostate cancer and all that kind of stuff. All that comes from not having enough vitamin D in our systems, and then we don't want to go out in the sun because some of us don't want to get darker. Whatever the reasons we have, we don't have jobs that allow us to be out in the sun, and it's important that we we do those things to take care of ourselves and our families. So I'm on it. I'm on it for our people. I mean, I try my best to do what I can. When I learn something new about what's good for us, I try to pass it along.
Absolutely. That vitamin D, Corona really exposed that, and it to a level that's really scary. And what really bothered me about that Corona thing is like the disinformation put out there. So much disinformation, and it makes it really difficult for young people and people in general to know what they need to do. And that is such a scary thing. I mean, there's so many people even to this day that will argue that Corona is something else. That they want you to take even the vaccines or anything, and it's like, I don't know what to say. But the vitamin D for Black people is serious when it comes to Corona, and just your health in general. Just your health in general. Our color is dark, so that it means we're meant to be close to the equator. And the further you get away from the equator, the sunlight the vitamins that you get from the sunlight are not even the same. Even if you're out in the sun, because of it's something very different about that sunlight. So yeah, but sister, keep going because you're on it, and I'm so happy we touched on this topic. Hey, Shaka, did you see that definition that I put in the chat? It's actually the UN one. It's up on Wiki because that's the official definition. It's the UN that defined that term. People of African descent. Do you see that? Or maybe Shaka took a time out.
Yeah, Mazda.
I'm right here.
Okay.
Do you want me to put up something?
Yeah, maybe you could. It's interesting because a lot of people don't know what that term means, people of African descent. And
the link you shared,
since
the Wikipedia link?
Yeah, and the Wikipedia one is the same as the UN one, so you can go ahead and read it. I've read it many a time, so I know it. But yeah,
make it larger. No. The African diaspora is the worldwide collection of communities descended from native Africans or people from Africa, predominantly in the Americas. The term most commonly refers to the descendants of the West and Central Africans who were enslaved and shipped to the Americas via the Atlantic slave trade between the 16th and 19th centuries. The largest populations in Brazil, the United States, and Haiti, in that order. However, the term can also be used to refer to the descendants of North Africans who immigrated to other parts of the world. Some scholars identify 4 circulatory phases of this migration out of Africa. The phrase African diaspora gradually entered common usage at the turn of the 21st century. The term diaspora originates from the Greek. Well, it's basically diaspora in Greek. I'm not fluent in Greek, but I'm kind of familiar with the letters. Maybe not all of them, but so in parentheses it says diaspora literally scattering, which gained popularity in English in reference to the Jewish diaspora before being more broadly applied to other populations. Less commonly, the term has been used in scholarship to refer to more recent emigrations from sub-Saharan Africa. The African Union AU, defines the African diaspora as consisting of people of native African origin living outside the continent, irrespective of their citizenship and nationality, and who are willing to contribute to the development of the continent and the building of the African Union. Its constitutive act declares that it shall invite and encourage the full participation of the African diaspora as an important part of our continent in the building of the African Union. Can I stop there?
Yeah, actually, to be honest with you, I'm sorry, man. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Yeah, I actually sent you the wrong link. That's diaspora.
Okay.
It's supposed to be African descent. I'm sorry. Why did I copy paste the wrong link? 2 seconds. Sorry about that,
All
brother.
right. No problem.
It's a specific term, people of African descent. It's only that term. Here we go. Here we are. Okay. Let me send this one to you now then.
Okay.
Boom.
Oh,
Copy
my
the
bad.
link. Copy link address. Okay. So let me come back over to the StreamYard thing. I'm on my phone, so it just takes a sec.
Yeah.
And hold on. StreamYard. Here we go. Okay. Now StreamYard, where you at? Boom. Sorry, you all, everybody in the chat and on the panel.
No, it's okay.
I'm almost here, but this is really interesting, this part, because let me see. Okay, here you guys go. Let's see. Come on, open StreamYard again. Here we go. Now in the chat, StreamYard chat. We'll put this link. You know, this is common information sometimes, or it should be common information, but it's our human rights. And a lot of these terms, a lot of us don't really, you know, we see maybe the UN is not working fast enough or not being significant enough of a factor. But actually, when you follow them, you see, come on, stop doing this. My phone is going nutty. I'm just trying to copy paste in the chat. Yeah.
Yes, I saw it's just a coma.
Yeah. All right, there we go. It should be in there now.
Got it.
Right one.
So,
yeah.
Oh, there's a PDF. That's from the UN. So let me share this in the chat.
Yeah, this is the actual, exactly. This is the actual working group for people of African descent, and they're specifically working on on charters. They're an extension of the ICERD, which is basically what the discrimination paragraph in every Western country is, right? And so they put out CERDs for different ethnic groups, and people of African descent have a particular CERD also. And so this is the definition of the group. And I thought it was pretty interesting when we talk about the Hebrew Israelites and the Moors and all these people that talk about anti-Black racism or racism towards Black people, or however we want to define ourselves. It's interesting how the UN defines people of African descent.
All right. So you can see United Nations Human Rights Office of the High Commissioner. People of African descent. Who are people of African descent? People of African descent live in many countries of the world, either dispersed among the local population or in communities. The largest concentration can be found in Latin America and the Caribbean, where estimates reach 150 million. Whether descendants of those Africans that were displaced to the Americas during the transatlantic slave trade many generations back, or more recent migrants who have journeyed to the Americas, Europe, Asia, and within Africa itself, people of African descent throughout the world make up some of the most marginalized groups. There are a specific victim group who continue to suffer discrimination as a historical legacy of the transatlantic slave trade. Even Afro-descendants who are not directly descended from slaves face the racism and discrimination that still persists today, generations after the slave trade ended. Is there any date for that thing?
Right.
I don't see any date here. Here it mentions 2011, so I will presume it's at least from that time. But here there's a logo that says International Decade for People of African Descent 2015 to 2024. But anyway, now where was I? In 2001, the Durban Declaration. Durban is in South Africa, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly.
Declaration, yeah, thank you. Declaration and program. It's funny because here they will program the French way, not the English way. Of action, DDPA, adopted at the World Conference Against Racism, Racial Discrimination, Xenophobia, and Related Intolerance, acknowledged that slavery and the slave trade were appalling tragedies in the history of humanity because of their barbarism and also their magnitude, organized nature, and their negation of the essence of the victims.
I think your audio went out, Shaka.
Yeah, it went out.
Yeah, it went out. But I thought the first part, the whole thing is interesting, of course, but I thought the first part, it just speaks to our identity and how we often, not to get off of the racism thing, but we don't know why these groups like the Black Hebrew Israelites exist. I mean, are they for discriminatory purposes? I mean, is this identity game a discrimination tool against us to divide us even more? But I thought it was interesting how they define people of African descent, because it clearly talks about the group of people they claim they are. Like they say, Sinetta is from Dominican Republic. You know, our brothers over there in these countries. Well, do they know that they're saying they hate Africans and things like this? Do they know that the actual charters that are created to protect us against that very racism they're defined under them? Even those groups of people. I mean, I just thought it just goes to show. Well, it speaks to me. It just shows me that somehow we're so battered with our identity that we even go against the things that are made to protect us against that very form of racism that we experience, you know.
Yeah, you never know. You never know, V. Bennett. None of us really understand those Hebrews. They remind me of the white or Caucasian or however you want to see it, but they kind of remind me of them. They're kind of trying to push their way into history. You know what I mean? Nobody really know of them besides being over in Europe, and I think they use that Bible in a sense to kind of make themselves seem like they were here way back, like our people was. But they call the Caucasians as the ones that they're the new kids on the block. You never know. The Hebrews could be doing something similar, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I see them all, as like essentially, from studying them, they all seem to have elements of or components of anti-blackness or anti-Africanness in them. And I just find it interesting that the US, they actually, although you know, no country in the world is going to catch up in our lifetime in correcting these things to the extent that we will possibly enjoy the correction, but they actually follow these charters. They point to these charters. These are the law-binding charters that actually coming out of the UN. And so when we look at those charters that they're writing, the US actually is compelled, and other nations, they're compelled to do some work within that outline that they've given regarding racism and discrimination. You know, and it just seems like often we're not aware of the dialogue that's going on. The UN even issued something regarding the US paying reparations, right, to African Americans. They said that the US owes African Americans reparations. It's not a binding agreement that they have to follow. However, another country, if they want to get at the U.S. and put pressure on the U.S., they can point the finger at the U.S. and say, hey, you didn't live up to this agreement that you signed. You didn't live up to this commitment. You want us to live up to our commitments. Why aren't you living up to yours? And so it's important that we kind of follow these developments as they go along, especially the ones in our name. The other thing I wanted to say is that, I can't understand how someone would not see how racism has affected all of our lives, just completely, and live in America, or let alone live in Europe. I can't even fathom how we could underestimate the effects of it. Like Andrea was saying, in my mind, it makes no sense to do that, because these countries are actually acknowledging it now for the first time, for not maybe to the best extent, because there's always bureaucracy, but in writing, we're beginning to see them acknowledge it flat out, that systemic racism is an undeniable fact of life, particularly of African Americans, and at the same time, then we hear people just speaking about it so callously. Having $1 million, it's not gonna make the system work better for your health, for all of our people's health. Having $1 million is not going to stop that cop from pulling you over. It just doesn't work. We see examples of it time and time again. And it's definitely not going to make us as a people repaired from all of the damage, all the psychological damage. I mean, sometimes when I see our brothers and sisters call a Black woman the B word, I think about that. I say, okay, is that also a consequence of the systemic oppression that we've been under? I mean, who taught us to call a Black woman that? You see, a lot of the things, I think that a lot of the tragedies live within us: behavioral difficulties, psychological difficulties. I mean, have you ever noticed how easy we are to snap at each other, fight each other, hurt each other? I mean, where did these things come from?
Yeah, like you said, I'm gonna just say something real quick. Like you just mentioned, the guy is so mad. He's mentioning Shaka parents, and he's trying to make it African American Negro against French Negroes now. He say he not all French people, but just French Negroes are liars. I know. But anyway, I'm gonna get back to the topic. The person must be in denial, because I can't see how you could say systematic racism doesn't exist. It's every day as you walk out your house. It could be in the court system, it could be in the school system, especially in the work system. You have so much Black men that's way smarter than these so-called Caucasians, but they won't get the position or they won't get the money because they are Black. So it's all about who you like. And like I said, it's every day on the TV. It's every day on I like one day I was dropping my daughter to school, and this is hundreds of people that go to that school every day. And the guy decided to run my tags. Of all people, he decided to run my tags. You know what I'm saying? And I'm pretty sure he don't run everybody tag. This is parents dropping their children to school. The guy followed me on the highway. He followed me off the highway till I was almost to my house and stopped me. So it just shows you, like, you can't even drop your child to school. Black people are getting killed, getting stopped every day just because they're Black. I mean, like I said, people don't care unless it happens to them. You know what I'm saying? And this guy was speaking all high and proudly, but you could turn it around, and if your son got caught in the wrong situation, it could happen to him. Don't think because he's this high and mighty person you think of, it can't happen to him. So it don't matter if you're a professor. It don't matter if you have millions of dollars. It don't matter if you on your wedding day. Black people get murdered from these white people, and it never ends. It never stops. So I don't know where he's getting that from. I don't know what earth he's living on. That's all I
And
have to say.
I want to say, I'm sorry, as you probably noticed, the connection was lost, and I was reading my behind off. Then I realized, I lost the connection. But there is a producer, or director of the movie Black Panther, Ryan Coogler, I think his name is. And I think you've seen the video where he was arrested. He went to withdraw money in the bank. He left a note because it was a large sum of money. He didn't want people to hear how much he was withdrawing, so he made the note. The cashier or the person, the employee just basically called the police, and I think they put the gun on him, but we have the footage from the body cam, and it was like, what's going on? And they told him, okay, this is what happened, and he just explained, I took that amount of money, I left the note because it's a large sum of money. So Oprah Winfrey, she went to France to I think it's Hermes. They turned her down, and maybe she's not anymore, but then she was the richest. I think she was the richest woman in the world, but definitely the richest woman in America, or let's say the richest black woman in America. And then they said, oh, they're sorry, but they were about to close. Yeah, no, they were not about to close. They just saw a black lady, they didn't care, they turned her down. So we do have some celebrities or entertainers sometimes. We see that they get racially profiled. You know what I'm saying? And so yes, things like that happen on a regular basis. The police can stop you, provoke you, and then if you reply in a way that they don't like, then they off you. Sometimes I really wonder if they have quotas of people that they have to eliminate from the planet. It's just bananas. It's a reality indeed, And some people didn't do anything wrong at all. Didn't do anything to justify being killed, and they were killed, like Oscar Grant. We've seen the footage, And we're talking about the director of the movie Black Panther. We have Michael B. Jordan, who also plays in Creed. He played Oscar Grant, So, there's it's all good to dialogue, and people make statements, and
Shocker.
we have the documentation, and documentation beats conversation. But feel free, Bennett.
Yeah, and check this out. How many times since you took up this topic have you called somebody the N-word? And how many times have you been called the N-word? And how many times does a black man kill another black man, and the last word that black man hears is N-word, right? How many times do we call each other N-word? That's not our word. And if that to me doesn't speak to the effects of systemic oppression, right? I don't know what does. I mean, we have digested that word wholeheartedly and just hurl it out like it's nothing. And we're when Chief X brought up this issue about gangs, sure, addressing this issue, we have to address this issue, killing each other. But I don't see how the issue gets addressed without it being underneath the banner of systemic oppression. I mean, what makes people behave this way? Is it self-hate? Why is it that another black man's life is the easiest life to take by another black man? I mean, I don't get that. And then how we speak to each other. To me, that speaks directly to the heart of racial discrimination, racism, and internalizing it. You see, that's also a part of it. The effect, the mental trauma and the mental effects of it. I mean, to me, I don't see how it could be seen any other way. Sure, we have a responsibility to stop it, but we don't have a responsibility to describe it as something else. It's chaos. It's pure hate. It's rage coming from somewhere. And sure, there's plenty of people that sell things to make money. Why does this have to be a thing where it's kill or be killed, but also I have to hurl that very word that the slave masters hurled at us, I have to hurl that at another black man. If it wasn't so, if it wasn't part of the systemic racism, then why do we use the language of it?
And I think one of the biggest vehicle for black people using the N-word is the music industry. They will not allow people to use racial slur, anti-Jewish racial slur, like it's cool. And there was a brother, Shaka Amos, and I know some people have their issues with situation where apparently he dated a mother and then the daughter. I'm not aware of any crime that he has committed. Some people may feel like it's morally wrong, and people say, okay, he groomed her. But I'm not aware of him being charged with any crime. When we have people convicted of child molestation and they get a voice and it's all good on the House of Rape, for example. But I've heard the testimony from the girl. And at one point she said, well, my mother, she had a way with men, and she said she manipulates them. The daughter said that her mother manipulates men. That's not to take anything away, but I just wanted to say that. And that brother Shaka Amos, I knew of him when I was still living in England. And I think it was around 2008, he had released an album entitled, I think it was entitled For Black People Only. And later on, he had some issues with the record label, because I had uploaded one of his music video. He asked me to take it down, and he said, he's having a problem with the record company, and so that's the reason why he asked me to take it down. But the album was so lovely, so beautiful, and it had one song entitled "Ban the N-Word," because he's been singing for a very long time, and that song was beautiful, and that stayed with me, So many people have noticed that I usually say N-word or ninja. I don't like to use that word, and I think one of the best way for us to do our share is to just either say the N-word or just not pronouncing it, And I don't know how long it will take ultimately, but we can at least try and see what it gets. But I think the reason why we are quick, like V. Bennett said, to attack each other and so on, is the inferiority complex. Some people might not realize it, but we don't value black life as we value other lives, and it's a shame. And it's not in America only. It's not in Europe only. It's really a worldwide phenomenon. It happens, a lot in Africa as well. We see ourselves, not all, but many of us see ourselves as less important than other people, And sometimes we feel like, black people are less skilled than other people, But, it's good for us to identify the problems that we have and then try to propose some solution. Indeed, Chicago is very, very violent, a lot of death. And I remember the Black Talk Radio days. So that's circa 2010, 2011. I addressed the situation in Chicago, and I had some brothers, from America. One in particular, but I think there were two, but one in particular kept saying, well, what they're saying about Chicago is the media, they are blowing it out of proportion. And I did not agree, so we went back and forth. And sometimes I feel like when we address an issue that's wrong in the black community, there's a defense mechanism, And sometimes I feel like in America, it's recurrent. It happens a lot. Some people feel offended and feel like we are attacking African Americans if we talk about some problems that's going on over there. And again, violence is a reality. It's a problem. It's a reality. There's gang violence in America, in Africa as well, and in Europe as well. But in America, it causes so much death. So many people die, But anyway, I don't want to monopolize the conversation. Feel free to add on, brothers.
I think I've been kind of thinking about something, and I was just going through the YouTube platforms, and Shaka almost came up, and I listened to him a lot back in the day. I know He's being talked about just like all of us. You know, they find something to talk about any of us about. They think it's worthwhile. You know, we'll be on the agenda. But back to what I was saying, I was looking at one of his programs, and it was talking. You know, he was talking about racism, and I mean, he had a long talk on it because one program went 4 hours, and the other one went 7 hours, and I'm just about through the 4 hour one, and I'm gonna check the 7 hour one about. I mean, I'm gonna check it out also, but excuse me. Shaka started getting into racism, and I think he mainly was focusing on Africa, and way back in the day, you know, when a lot of muscle flexing, and you know how human beings are. They want to be the best or the baddest. And back in those days, they probably had the swords and the spears, and you know, fighting in that kind of manner. But the African was dominant, not just in the fighting, but as we know, especially the ones that's learned, we know that knowledge-wise, we were dominant also, because it was said that you know, people came from all over to learn from our people. But Shaka said that we had to fight the white man off a lot. And he was talking about Jabari too, because Jabari was talking about the Tamu. And you know, he kind of had a thing against Jabari because he was saying that Jabari was being kind of soft. And he started out talking about some reparations and stuff too, that the NATO had told America that they owe the black African Americans reparations.
Yeah, the UN.
And yeah, the UN, that's it. And I got that far on it. And Shaka was mad at Jabari because he said Jabari was doing it like this. He was waiting for America to give us the reparations. And you know, Shaka was showing his macho side. He said, nah, you know, this is the way it should be. We should take our reparations. And it's no way we're going to do that either. Not in a physical sense, because we're inside of a nation, even though they consider us a nation. We're inside of a nation, and they're one of I want to say the most mightiest nation on the earth. But we do have other nations out there that's, you know, kind of around the top too, that can do great damage in a warring sense. Also, with all this weaponry that we have, that a lot of it, all you got to do is push buttons. If it's not a drone, it's a missile, and you can do great damage with it. But Shaka was saying we got to take our reparations, and he said back in the day, the Africans, they were dominant and they won. And they had to fight the white man off because they were coming from everywhere to just come inside of Africa, and the Africans fought them off. And every time they won, they would take the white man and make slaves out of him. So he wanted us to know that the black man did enslave the white man. And that's how any nation would do. Once they won a war, they would dominate everybody and everything inside of that nation. They took their women, they killed children, and you know, whatever they wanted to. But they made slaves out of them also. And they did it on a regular basis because they were dominant in the fighting aspect of all of it. And you know, I think that's a reason, and I think this is what he's getting to. I didn't finish it, like I said, the 4 hour one yet, but he's saying that a lot of this racism is coming from back in the day, and the white man knows it, where our people used to enslave their people. And he said that the African enslaved the white man first before us being enslaved, and really now we're we're people of our ancestors that's being enslaved today. It's like everybody's focusing on us and picking on us. But I think it's just my opinion of the racism. I think it's a jealousy type thing. They're jealous of us and our people and where we came from. And Shaka even talked about how they tried to hide they tried to hide certain things. And we even know it today, the ones that's really starting to wake up and see the truth. You know, a lot of us didn't know a lot of things that we know about our people now because they did hide it. You know, and you can see how they took a lot of our, trinkets and stuff, like statues and the obelisks and all those type things. They would take them in, like even in France where you at, Shaka, they have in the museum there, they have a lot of our people's stuff there. Our people's stuff is spread all over this world. Even in the United States here, they have part of it. It just something don't compute with me. Why in the world would you take a country, when they say a continent, all of their stuff, especially back in the beginning stages, and really display it in your country like it's, I'm kind of proud in a sense, but I don't like it also because the stuff that they got belonged to us, even though we are separated and scattered people. They got a lot of our stuff, and that's what we need to realize as a whole and get this thing figured out and come together as a people because they got us scattered out all over the world, and mentally we're scattered too, and that's where our biggest fight is.
Actually, I would like to comment on what you said, Elder James Powell. Now, there's so many artifacts indeed that we find in many different museums in the world, coming from Africa, particularly from Kemet. But they thought back in the day that it was Caucasians, that it was white people, And Dr. Shekanta Diop quoted so many people who used to talk about this dark white race, So it was really bananas then. I don't think that we have all the citation of Diop in English because African Origin of Civilization, Myth of Reality is very, very, it's much smaller than the French book. French book is way, way, way larger, Now, Shaka Amos at one point did state that in Kemet they enslaved white people. And I did not share that opinion, but I was listening. And Jabari did not share that opinion either, and they were supposed to debate. The debate did not take place, and from what I understood, Shaka Amos asked to get paid, and apparently that no agreement was he couldn't come to a satisfactory agreement with Sanera. So I don't know if Sanera didn't want to pay him up front or it was not enough money. I don't know exactly know. And the guy's not 100. He hates the Hebrews, who has them on all the time, so we cannot really expect a truth coming from him. I mean, we have him on tape saying that Polite would never be on this platform, whether he's found guilty or not guilty. But he had Polite, and Polite will probably be on again, just like he told Tazariak that Tazariak would never be on this platform again after Tazariak told the underage boy that he would not feed him because he's African. So, actually, before the debate was supposed to take place, Shaka Amos did say, okay, he had some private streams. So I did pay, to listen because I'm like, I don't share that view, but, if there's documentation, then, I'm all for it, because Shaka Amos do come with a lot of quotes from PhDs mainly, So the first time we went there was like, I don't know, a dozen of us. And Shaka Amos is quite long-winded, so the last one was very, very long. The first time he did not touch on the subject of slavery of white people from Kemet. So what I did is he said, okay, I didn't touch on the subject, I'll send the link for the following week. I think it was on Fridays. So he did send the link, and we didn't have to pay for the second time. And the second time, the live stream lasted 4 hours, and he did not touch on it on the topic, but he did show some slides and a lot of citations. So after that, I didn't pay again to listen. I was like, okay, maybe later on he will come and show us that. But I have yet to see the documentation about that. So on that particular topic, I'm not in agreement, and I'm waiting for the sources. You know what I'm saying? Just like recently, we had some people talking about branding and chattel slavery in Kemet, and that's actually when I was a guest on Sideenders platform for the first time. All these Hebrews, including Nepal, talked about human rights violation, but I didn't see any documentation. So, yeah, I will leave it there. That's just for the record.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, I'm gonna be
Yeah,
honest with you, Shock.
Oh, go ahead. Go
Go,
ahead,
go ahead,
Ralph.
V Ben.
I
Go
was
ahead.
just
No, go
going to
ahead.
say,
Uh,
yeah, like Shaka said, like I would have to research that. I never seen that in history yet. As far as I know, it was always the Caucasian infiltrating African countries. It was always Caucasian attacking Africans. I never heard about Africans with no white monuments, no white statues, nothing like that. For him to say that Africans were, and when is he talking about? In ancient time? Because as far as history show, where there is all the people that attack, whether it's Ethiopia or wherever in Africa, it was always them infiltrating Africa. And like he said, they have all our statues and monuments all over the world. It just shows you, like, I mean, deep down inside, they have a hate and a jealousy for us that we don't even can comprehend. We don't understand how great we was. So, like I said, I never heard about black people enslaving white people before all this nonsense.
yeah, exactly. I've never heard of that either, and I've heard. I mean, there was a time where people would, in history, just, I guess, certain. I can't even call them scholars, really, but in our community, you would have people try to extrapolate and say that, say, for example, that they would confuse Moorish history, Moors, Ottomans, the Ottomans enslaving Europeans, and things like that, and they would mix the two histories up into each other somehow and call them Moors, and so there's a lot of confusion sometimes between what the Africans were doing and the Ottomans were doing. And just because you have alliances together doesn't necessarily mean you have the same agenda or you have the same practices, And I think a lot of times people get confused by that. And when we review it, people just assume maybe 20 or 30 years ago what could be assumed today. They know that no, this is not actually the case. There's no evidence to suggest that some of these ideas were real. It's just a misread on history. And a good example of that is like even the term Moor. There was a time where people said that Moor was like a kingdom. Moor is a great thing. Moor was, but there's people now that say no, Moor is a derogatory term for black. It's a derogatory. There's people that say that now, and these people are PhDs and things like that in African studies, so history, what people know of history is constantly being updated. But myself, there's nothing I've ever seen that suggests that people of African people had lacked a labor force. What would the point of slavery be? It would be a labor force. So I just don't see how that makes sense. And what did they build with those slaves? I mean, if it went beyond Kemet, for example, I don't even agree with that Kemet thing, but if it went beyond Kemet and it's just Europeans, what did they build? What did they do with the slave force? I mean, what's there? So I don't know where Shaka almost gets that from. And I think it's coming from some maybe pseudo scholarship mixed in from like 30 years ago. And yeah, that's my take on it personally.
And I want to say that I completely agree. We're in the Moorish confusion. And I've talked about it for many years. Asiatic black men don't really like me because the Asiatic black men are the Moors, the 5%er, and of course, 5%ers or Nation of Gods on Earth, and of course, the Nation of Islam. So they have a lot of teachings that is not factual at all. And the way you see Hebrew Israelites on the house of rape is the same way back then you will see Moorish people. Cyrus Newton said his first debate was against Alim Bey. He slaughtered Alim Bey. I don't have anything against Alim Bey personally, but it was such a mismatch. The funny thing is that people knew of Alim Bey, people didn't know about Seti. So before the debate, Frankie went in the street and asked people, who do you think is going to win the debate? Nearly everybody said Alim Bey. But when the debate happened, it might still be online on YouTube. Alim Bey got crushed so bad. It was really, really, really a landslide victory for Seti. Because Drew Ali plagiarized the Aquarian Gospel of Jesus Christ and another book to come up with his seven circle Quran. And what people have done indeed is talk about the Muslim invasion of Europe and they label it the Moorish invasion of Europe and have you think that black people ruled Europe. It's a great lie. It's great falsehood. And when I was a guest on Sanetta's platform for the first time, I spoke with Lord Abba, and Lord Abba and I, we talked many times, back from the Amen Ra squad. We're actually supposed to debate, but something came up every time, like 3 times or something like that, or at least 2. He couldn't make it for whatever reason. But anyway, so I asked him, okay, can you show me a black Moorish ruler? Show me somebody. He showed a depiction that kind of looked black. I went on Google, typed the name, and most of the depiction of that person shows that it's a white-skinned person. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the greatest confusion ever. Now, when we read The Golden Age of the Moor, edited by Ivan van Sertima, it talks indeed about the origin of the term Moor, which derives from the Greek moros. So we could say that back in the day, like BC time, it meant black, or it described a group of black people. But when you go to BC time and you talk about the invasion of Europe, the medieval time, you're far remote. You're far removed. And basically, to make the long story short, you have the U.S. Army. You can see them in Afghanistan. Well, I mean, they left recently, but you will see them in Iraq and Afghanistan. You will see some black people. If you happen to see a group of black people, some of them were even throwing gang signs. You're not going to say black people invaded Iraq or Afghanistan. But for the invasion of Europe, it was the same. It was Muslims and there was some black mercenaries or soldiers. You know what I'm saying? But the majority of those slaves. People, and even slaves indeed, because Runoko Rashidi is on tape, and I've shared it. He talked about the guy Tariq. If I'm not mistaken, he was talking about Tariq. But he said that he was treated as a second-class citizen. You know what I'm saying? He was humiliated in front of people. So hold on, I want to make sure that my headset's battery is not off now. How much is it now? Okay, it's only one ear. But I'm going to let you add on so I can put my headset in a charger. But indeed, it's one of the greatest hoax to claim that black people ruled Europe. Those guys have no knowledge. They only have conjecture and rhetoric. You know what I'm saying? So we have, Taj Tariq Bey, Sabir Bey, and many other people who've been spinning that narrative. You know what I'm saying? The same people who say that we're not black because black means scorched. They go out of their way to not use the term black. So they will use melanated, they will use Moorish, talk about nationality. But sadly, on their passport, in the nationality field, it says United States of America. There's no such thing as a Moorish nationality. Even if they do sovereign packages, they give you some identity card. A lot of those people ended up in jail over the sovereign stuff, not paying taxes, and even some of them taking over people's property, claiming sovereignty over it. But I digress.
We've been shown a lot of images of like people that are that they claim were Moors, blackamoors and things like this. And we see them throughout Europe, all the way into Russia and things like that. But, the thing is that we have a hard time understanding the slave trade that took place there, and a lot of times we forget that African people were taken into Eastern Europe, and African people were also even organized as slaves, you know, under these empires, you know, taken to different parts, fighting for different groups. And you know, we sometimes confuse the two. So when we see a image, even in the Renaissance period, or no, what is it? Get down and see it. We see images, for example. What is this? They say they had there's a famous Russian Moor image that is supposed to be the grandfather
A Pushkin
of
guy.
Pushkin. Right, exactly. Well, you know, if you compare all the Renaissance or the not Renaissance, but the dark, what is it, Shaka? What period is that? I forget. Where the
Black Age.
Blackamoors. Right. When you compare these images from the Russian period, from Russia to Western Europe, you compare all these images, right? And you start to see that they have something in common with each other. And when you get into the history of these nations, sure, a lot of African slaves didn't work in Europe. You know, most of them were taken to the Americas and places like that. Some of them were taken eastward, right? But in Europe, we have a hard time understanding that no, some African slaves were in Europe too, you know, and that's why you see them in pictures, in paintings, in the royal palaces holding the horse. Sure, they in fancy clothing, but they're holding the horse for somebody else to ride. And you see those images from Russia all the way through Denmark, everywhere in every European kingdom, you see. And it appears as if we're making a mistake in just our own history and not understanding the ways in which slavery existed, possibly before America, before the great migration or the great slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade was really taking afoot, you know. So yeah.
And you know,
B Bennett.
there's one painting of a Moorish person, well, someone labeled as a Moor, and they love to show that person. They show it as if he was a Moorish ruler. And I've been asking a simple question, you know, which Moorish guy, black Moor, called himself Moor, or another black person or Moor? This is a term that Europeans use to describe other people because they like to say, "Oh, we know Africans. Africa is a European terms." White people came up with that term. It's the same for Moor. Now, that painting actually shows someone who was in charge of a harem. And when I say in charge, it was a eunuch, somebody whose penis was cut off, and his task was to look after the harem. But they show that depiction as if he's like a Moorish ruler. And even in the golden age of the Moor, I've been telling people, just look at the depictions. A lot of time you see a group of Moors, you will see just a few black people. Now, of course, you have the two guys playing chess, they are black people. But when you see a group of Moors in battles, you even have a caption that says, you know, look, notice those two black guys. You know, the majority of them are Caucasians, are white people, white skin. That's one of the greatest hoax ever. But lately, we don't really hear about the Moors because, you know, it only ran its course. And the Hebrews were lights, they're on survival mode. You know, they were really happy when Kanye said the stuff he said, but Kanye, you know, he's going through some stuff. He's going through some stuff. So, you know, if we deal with the scholarship, the documentation, you know, the 12 tribe chart and stuff like that, I mean, they are basing their genealogy on some fictional book that talks about folklore. That's not scholarship, but I leave it there, you know. Feel free to add on, brothers and sisters.
Andrea, I see you
Yes.
looking. You want to
No, I
add
mean,
in, young lady?
well, no, I was just writing stuff down as he was talking. There's a channel here in the US called the PBS channel, and every now and then they have these great documentaries on there. And there was a guy who was talking about how they would try to control the population of Africans and Haitians. They wanted them to get on birth control, and they said, if you get on birth control, we'll send you all this and give you all this. And they said, no, we're not going to do that. They said, okay, if you don't do that, we'll starve you to death. you know. So there's this constant trying to, you know, minimize our population so that they can take advantage of all the goods that the continent of Africa has to offer, right? It's just it's amazing to me that, you know, we don't stick together like that, knowing that these things are happening. Even in Haiti, there's minerals and stuff on the island of Haiti that they're trying to get their hands on, you know. And so we have to be
Oil and
cognizant.
gas.
Yeah, and then they you know, they keep telling us to get over it, get over it, get over slavery. Man, we haven't been out of slavery for, you know, that long of a period of time. When my dad was living, he couldn't even walk on the same side of the street as a white woman. My dad was born in 1929. He couldn't walk on the same side of the street as him. And we just got the right to vote, quote unquote, in the 60s. We are not far removed from all this Jim Crow and all this other kind of stuff. And even if that be the case, okay, I'm gonna use a skunk as an analogy. When that skunk dies, you can smell that skunk for days, right? It's the same thing. It takes a while. This stuff is not going to turn over overnight. We're 50 years. We're not even that far removed from all of this stuff happening to us here in America and around the world, because it's happening everywhere. And so I don't understand how people want to, you know, say, oh, I'm free, I'm this. No, well, yeah, in your own little world you may be, but you can't tell me when you leave your house that you are going to experience anything different than anybody else. It doesn't work that way, right? When I was working, I noticed that 9 times out of 10, I would be one of the few Black people on job, if not the only one. And I would ask, where are the Black people at? Where are they at? Oh, and this is in the telecom industry. And they would say, oh, we can't find them. I mean, what do you mean you can't find them? You're not going where they are. You keep going to these predominantly white schools, and we have a whole bunch of Black historical colleges and universities where you can find them. We got the Tuskegees and the Prairie Views and, you know, all these out there that are technological schools that you can find them. You're just afraid to go on that campus. But if you don't want to go, I'd be happy to go. I will go recruit for you and bring them here. But you can't say it's because they don't exist, right? Or you can't find them. Even when the George Floyd thing happened, I was really appalled that the CEO of the company I was working for at the time didn't think that he could have done something differently before that point. All of a sudden he comes out and he says, yeah, you know, when that happened, man, yeah, we don't have enough diversity, equity, and inclusion at this company. And so now we need to do something about it. And I'm like, okay, so what about the brothers who didn't get shot but were accosted at the Starbucks? You didn't do nothing then. You know, what about Breonna Taylor? She was murdered. You didn't do nothing then. All of a sudden, because all this stuff got publicized, now you feel like we need to do something about it. And then as soon as the Asian hate stuff came out, Black folks were dropped like we were the plague. I mean, forgot completely about our plight, and it became something else. And it's always we get kicked to the back burner when something new comes around. But I'm always asking, where are the Black people at? There is no excuse for you not having enough Black people working here. One of the companies I work for, they said they actually brought an independent person in that said the same thing I said. You don't have enough Black people here. And again, they would ask, where are we supposed to find them? They are out there. You just don't want to go where they're at. So that was one of the things I wrote down. And then when you're talking about all the relics that are out there, there was a documentary on that too. They said that they were better keepers of the relics than the Africans were. That's the reason why they're in those other museums around the world, except for where they belong. That's what they say. We're better keepers of these. I'm like, okay, but you've destroyed everything that has any kind of significant value. If it was theirs, I guarantee you, they wouldn't have torn all that stuff up or removed things from where, you know, that don't belong to them. But because it belongs to somebody else, they want to take credit for saying we're preserving this for them, you know, because if it weren't for us, they would have lost this already. So I mean, there's just so many things out there. And I wanted to say something else too.
Is there something in the background?
Yeah, I don't know whose it is.
Shaka, you
I don't think it's me. I can hear it.
Okay. Oh, okay. It went away. Okay.
But there's
Continue.
There's an article that I saw some years ago when it was talking about, and I know I'm going all over the place, but they were talking about women, when black Asian and Hispanic and white women to go to hospitals, they would automatically run tests on Black women to see if they had any sexually transmitted diseases, but they didn't do that for the other races of women. So it always looked like we had more of our women that had whatever compared to everybody else. And so when the study came out, and this doctor said, I'm just gonna go and look at these records and see what they're doing. And she found this discrepancy in there. She came back and said, this stuff is not true. What we're posting out here, as far as these are concerned, it is not true. I don't believe the hype when it comes to them telling us about, oh, we have the highest this, and we have the highest that, and we have the highest this, and we have the highest that. If we're not making up that percentage of people in America, I can't say for other countries, I don't see how we're at the top of the charts for all of this stuff, right? And so I'm always looking into stuff because I don't like us getting put behind the 8 ball all the time. And I will question and I will tell them, no, you're full of crap. You guys need to stop spreading all these lies because you keep trying to make yourself look better to and make us look worse. When you know that all these studies that come out, you guys, you can put numbers on anything to make yourself look better. But at the end of the day, you guys skew the numbers because you don't want us to take over. You want even in America, we're not the minority in America. They just want us to believe we're the minority in America. Because when you look at the makeup of this country, it ain't predominantly them. It's us. They always need our vote. They always need this. They always need this from us. But we make up more of the voting bloc than they give us credit for. They just don't say it, right? So I look at all of that. There's so much stuff that we have to really pay attention to, and I'm one of these Black people that I hold them to task on the stuff that they say and the stuff that they do, because what you do is more than what you say. Because people talk a lot of crap, but they don't do anything, right? So that's my take on a lot of stuff. And I want to say one more thing. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say one more thing. The job that I just got off of, prior to that, I was supposed to get a raise on this particular job in it because I accepted this position, right? And they let months go by, and I kept asking, and they gave me some, call themselves, give me some little penny ante bull crap. I had to close the door and tell them I will take my Black butt, and I didn't say butt, back where I was before I allow you all to insult me the way you just did. You didn't have no problem giving this other woman the money you gave her, and now you want to give me a slap in the face. And when I was talking to the CEO about it, he said, she's not here anymore. And I said, well, that's besides the point. He said, no, that is the point. Get over it. When I heard that, I closed his door, and I said, so let me understand this correctly. You've given her 11 months to F up, and you're giving me 12 hours to get over it. And I said, you can take this job and shove it up. And I walked out. Like, you will not do that. They begged me to come back, and they apologized, and they gave me a better raise and all this other kind of stuff. But if we don't do that, even on this, and I just quit a year ago, just a little over a year ago, on the job that I was on, because my boss decided to go behind my back and use a WW to replace me as his executive assistant. I gave him an opportunity to redeem himself, and he didn't. And I'm like, okay, I'm good. I'm out the door. You are not going to do that to me. I've been the one here for 17 years, and now you want to go and get homegirl over here to take care of you now. And I've been the one here. No, we ain't doing that. I've been the one. So I said, do you know how that made that look to me? You made it seem like to me that I'm the slave here doing all the legwork, and she's sitting up in her house in Indiana, scheduling your meetings. No. Do you know what that looks like to me? Oh yeah, Andrea. No. Deuces, bro. I'm out, and I quit, and I'm not there no more. I'm like, you're not gonna do. You got the wrong Black person. Don't let the light color of my Black skin fool you. I am Black to the core. Don't get it twisted. I tell them all the time. Don't get it twisted. You're not gonna take these opportunities to put your digs in because now you don't think I'm qualified enough to represent you in front of the bigwigs out there. You got to go grab one of them. Ain't happening. So we have to be diligent and militant, whatever you want to call it, whatever words you want to put in there to help mitigate some of this stuff, because now he's no longer with the company either. But I left on my own. They forced him out. So
he got his karma.
I wanted to
now, brothers and sisters. I actually am going to go back home tomorrow. I'm going to travel tomorrow, so I would like to end the live stream, so I want to let everybody make the closing remarks. So we can go clockwise. We can start with Andrew Brunet, then it's going to be James Powell, then Young Harold, then V Bennett. So, sister, feel free to make a closing remarks, please.
I think this subject, we could talk about this all day long. It's great. Shaka, you are bringing up some very good conversations, and all these discussions are very good. And I'm glad that we can be on a panel where we can actually have civil discussions, because some of that stuff just gets a little bit crazy. And I just commend you and all the brothers that come on the panel that express themselves in a way that should make all of us proud. You guys are just the bomb. And Elder, hats off to you, bro.
Thank you so much, sister Andrew Brunet.
And I'm gonna back out.
Brother, yeah, thank you, sister. Now, brother James Powell, Elder, feel free to make your closing remarks, please. You're on mute, brother Elder.
Okay, that noise earlier that V Bennett was talking about, it was my air condition. It's still pretty hot here. I think we had 80, above 80, maybe 82 degrees today.
What?
And yeah, in February just getting ready to go out.
That's Fahrenheit.
Yeah, Fahrenheit. Yeah, that's hot too. Now I'm gonna tell you, that's why you hear that noise, because that air condition keeps kicking on to keep the house inside maybe around 72, somewhere around in there, to keep it cool inside. But my closing remarks is before it kicks back on. Hey, I appreciate just this channel, period, Shaka. Just like Andrea said, we go over a lot of different things. I'm gonna get right off it right quick, my closing, and say something about Sarnetta right quick. He was talking stuff about the program yesterday, and I was looking at it. That's what got me on here a little late. Man, you got him shook up, man, and that's good too, because he shook up because he knows what he's doing is wrong. That's all it is. And like I said, keep your channel doing what it's doing to keep us close to in line anyway. We got a lot of work to do as a people. We're trying to figure ourselves out. And that's mainly where we should be looking, but instead of trying to figure each other out and down each other, we should be trying to figure out this mess where we came from, where we need to go. Just like Dr. Clark, he laid it out real good, and maybe we can get some direction on us and just start doing the right thing. I got a lot of stuff in my head too, like Spike Lee said years ago. Hey, he made a movie. Just do the right thing, people, and we need to learn and try to find out what the right thing is for us, so we can do it. That's it.
Yeah, thank you, Elder. Do the right thing, like Mookie. Brother Young Hero, feel free to make your closing remarks.
Yeah, I just want to say I appreciate the conversation, and systematic racism is real, because people don't understand. You can't, if just like the guys say about SETI can't be racist, because all the guy is doing is telling you the information of your own history. He's telling you what these people did to your people. And if he's passionate about that, I don't see nothing wrong with it. You know what I'm saying? He's not telling you go out there and do no violence, but he's letting you know that we have to come as one, as a people, and take back what's rightfully ours. And that's all I have to say about that. So it's real, and it's every day. It's in your face, and don't wait till it happened to you or your family members for it to be real. And yeah, like Powell said about that guy, he's just mad because his tickets are not selling. So he's on there every day trying to sell tickets, and he's trying to disprove all the things you said, even if it came out his own mouth. And the sister said it on your show, and he's calling you a liar. Like, it's on tape, but anyway, just have a safe trip tomorrow, and yeah, we'll catch up.
Thank you, Brother Young Hero. And we've been feel free to make your closing remarks.
Yeah, Shaka, I like this program, brother. We gotta come back to this topic, follow up on the topic, because there's so much to be said. And of course, like Andrea was saying, Sister Andrea was saying, it's never enough time on this topic. But I wanted to say this in terms of systemic racism. The United States and the UK, they're the two major Western nations that have an issue with felons voting, right? And the other ones, you could be a felon and that has nothing to do with your vote. You could do your crime, you're going to be allowed to vote. You're still a member of a democratic society, and you have that basic constitutional right to vote. It's upheld. The other thing I was going to say is that, I said yesterday, within the laws, they parallel each other from the US to Europe. Yeah, they do. They do parallel each other. There's some differences, but they parallel each other, but not the benefits, right? Not the benefits. So let's talk about some of those benefits. In a place like Denmark, Sweden, Norway, right? These kind of countries, people get paid for education. What's the immigrant population? 10% maximum. What's the so-called all of America's an immigrant population, but let's break it into so-called European descent. What's that population? It's far less. The percentage is far less in the U.S. But do people get paid to go to school in America? No. Free education in the Western world, in European countries. The United States, high so-called non-European background descent. How long did it take this medical free or universal health care to kick in? Why is that if there's no systemic racism, right? We could go on and on with the benefits. The benefits, the difference in the benefits are huge when you're talking about what your tax dollars pay for. Why is that? I would argue that there's a clear difference in the makeup of the population, and that's what I would say. So on that note, there's a lot more to be said on the topic, but I want people to think about that and research it a little bit. Yeah, but on that, I'll say goodbye. Thanks for everybody on the panel. It was a beautiful topic. Andrea, of course, I mean, you were like the leader. You had so much to say today, and that's why we're so lucky to have you here. We're so lucky to have you here. Thanks for being a great host, Shaka. Peace to the panel, peace to the chat.
Thanks a lot, Brother V. Bennett. Well, brothers and sisters, my closing remarks is the same. Stay safe, stay healthy. If I'm allowed to, Brother Nechero, I will definitely holler back at you. I don't argue. I state facts. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. 282 Nechero Hotep. Now, for the record, for those who don't know, I'm giving Medu Nature classes. And here, that's the flyer. Okay? So, those who are interested, feel free to holler at me. If you're not interested, it's cool. But I recommend that everybody who has not yet seen the video, Kemet and Ma'at, Before Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, then watch it. It has about 300,000 views and really deserves to have a lot more.
I just want to let everyone know who's listening in now and who's going to listen to this stream in the future. I just had my first Meta Nature class by Brother Shaka today, and I've had other Meta Nature lessons by other teachers, and I can tell you right now, the brother is the best in the game. He is that was one of the best classes I've ever had, ever. So if you're interested in learning the Meta Nature, if you're interested in getting the basics of it, Brother Shaka is an awesome teacher. Get with him, and it's extremely affordable. This brother is giving us his time and his skills, and he's basically giving it away. I mean, I just consider it a donation. You know what I'm saying? So if anybody is interested in learning the Meta Nature, get with this brother right here. He's an awesome, awesome, awesome teacher. And I'll end with that.
Hotep Senu, Hena Senut. This is Julie, also known as Servant of Yah, and I'm currently taking the Medu Nature classes with Brother Shaka, and it has been an amazing experience. only 2 lessons so far, and I feel like I've been taking the classes for months, just with the how in depth he goes into the vocabulary words, the construction of the language, the grammar. It's been immeasurable, the experience. And one thing that comes across, hands down, is his extreme passion for teaching this to anyone who is willing to learn and has an interest in learning. So I highly suggest, if you are interested, even a minimal interest, that you subscribe to the classes with Brother Shaka. It's such a nominal amount for how much you get. I know, like, our last class was over 2.5 hours. It felt like 2 minutes, but because that's how, involved you are in what he's teaching and how he teaches and how compassionate he is about what he teaches. Also with sharing materials free of charge, no question, no doubt. It's just what he does. He doesn't have to, but he does. And so I just wanted to give a short testimonial about the class and the effectiveness of the class. And all of that is attested to how studied Brother Shaka is. So I highly recommend anyone with a minimal interest that you do sign up for the Medu Neter class. Hotep.
Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, which is Ma'at Forever. Don't forget to watch the video entitled Kemet and Ma'at. Don't forget to share Kemet and Ma'at on my channel on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, or other social media that you use. Email, text messages, you name it. Those who wish to donate can do so on paypal.me/Ma'at Forever.